Welcome back to The Young Voter, and welcome to Weekly Roundup number 2. This week, once again, we're going to round up, we're going to discuss the week's political news and give you a summary of the highlights of the week. So we start out with Sarah Palin. It's been a fairly bad week for Sarah Palin this week. The number of viewers to her reality TV show, Sarah Palin's Alaska, dropped the second weekend from 5 million opening night to 3 million. That's a 40% drop. Now, I don't know how much you can read into that. Perhaps people were watching the first show just to see, oh, what's Sarah Palin doing on this TV show? So perhaps we can't really read too much into that, but certainly it's not something Sarah Palin is going to be happy about. From the first viewing at 5 million, dropping to 3 million, that's not particularly comforting. But perhaps it's not a big piece of news, but it just adds to what else happened to Sarah Palin this week. Barbara Bush was being interviewed by Barbara Walters, and Sarah Palin had spoken to Barbara Walters, telling her that she could beat Barack Obama, and Barbara Bush is now being interviewed by Ms. Walters, and she says about Sarah Palin that Sarah Palin should stay in Alaska. So don't run for president, but stay in Alaska. You're not ready. Now, Sarah Palin countered this in the week when she got news of Ms. Bush saying this to her. She said the Bushes are blue bloods, they're part of the establishment, etc. So she's a maverick and she's going to take them on, and she doesn't really care what they say. Now that's great, but again, another Republican telling Sarah Palin, don't even think about it. We can't have you screwing things up. Stay in Alaska. Barbara Walters also interviewed Barack Obama this week, or at least the interview aired this week. She seems to be interviewing everybody, Barbara Walters. But about Sarah Palin, asked about Sarah Palin, Obama said, I don't think about Sarah Palin. So for Sarah Palin wanting to go out there and really be important. Now, she's certainly celebrated in the media. She's treated as a celebrity. People talk about her every day in political circles and everything. And people are constantly trying to throw her under the bus. Now, certainly the Republican establishment doesn't want her to be rising because she threatens their hegemony over the Republican Party, because she has a very strong populist support base of support. And the same base of support that was able to push Bristol Palin to near competition, near victory in Dancing with the Stars. However, she lost. She came in third place. So she lost pretty badly in the finale of it, but she was able to be pushed despite having received really negative ratings and poor scores from the judges. Bristol Palin was able to move forward because of all of the votes that she received. Now, of course, we can only assume that these people that voted for her, and this is a big assumption, but one that is shared by a lot of people in the media and the political world, that the people that advanced Bristol Palin in Dancing with the Stars were Sarah Palin supporters. So a big populist movement, a big group of conservative people that maybe not necessarily watched the show before, but they now watched it because Bristol Palin was participating in it, and they voted for her and they got her moved up and up. But again, she lost in the end. And Bristol Palin was quoted in the Los Angeles Times as saying that wouldn't it be great if I won Dancing with the Stars, and it would be a big middle finger to everyone who hates my mom so much and hates me so much and hates America, etc., etc. I don't think she said hates America, but who hates our family so much. Of course, this interview was before the finale. I don't think a lot of people hate you, Sarah Palin and Bristol Palin, or hate your family. They just don't want you to have anything to do with the politics of this country. I don't think they hate you. Hate is a strong word. I don't hate Sarah Palin. I don't think there are a lot of people out there that hate Sarah Palin. I just don't want her to be president of the United States. I don't want her to be politically involved because, one, she is not really qualified. She has presented no qualifications. She was a governor of a small state who resigned in the middle of her term, and she was also a scandal-plagued vice presidential candidate. And she demonstrates no command of any sort of foreign policy or domestic policy issues, except in the capacity of regurgitating Republican talking points about, and coming up with her own about how Barack Obama basically hates this country and thinks it's horrible and wants to change this country for the worse, which is what Sarah Palin wrote in the book that was released this week, the latest book by Sarah Palin. And she argues in it that Barack Obama doesn't like this country and is changing it because he thinks this country is based on corrupt principles or something like that. I don't really think. I think that's a testament to the people that are trying to discredit Sarah Palin. I don't think you're going to gain a lot of support if you come out with these outlandish statements which really don't have anything to do with anything. Okay, well, you're going to say that Barack Obama is trying to change this country and doesn't like this country, but you really have no way of proving it. So instead of countering him on issues, you attack him on something that can't really be argued about because we can't prove if Barack Obama doesn't like this country or thinks this country is fundamentally unjust and wants to change the principles that this country is founded on. I don't think you can win such an argument. I don't think you should be having such an argument if you're then speculating that you might run for president. And that's, I think, what a lot of the establishment is saying. Sarah Palin, don't run, stay in Alaska, be celebrity in chief, but do not try to screw this up for us. Because right now the Republicans are doing well in terms of, well, if we get a viable candidate, we might have a shot against Obama. Even though there are critics and a lot of people that say it's a lot more difficult to beat an incumbent president than you think it is. So there's the Sarah Palin part of the news for the week. We'll get back to it, I'm sure, in the coming weeks. The next part of the news is, again, about Republicans. Tom DeLay, the former House Majority Leader, he's a Republican from Texas. He stepped down. He resigned because of money laundering allegations of corruption, etc. He's been found guilty by a jury in Texas on money laundering charges. And these money laundering charges involve political contributions. And he faces up to life in prison for these charges. I mean, these are serious charges against former Representative DeLay, former Majority Leader DeLay. So he is really in trouble here. He said he's going to appeal the verdict, but definitely keep your eyes open because this could have serious implications. Texas politics, national politics, etc. Tom DeLay was a big figure and still remains certainly an important figure in the Republican Party, or a former important figure. So keep in mind, see what happens. We'll let you know if there are any new developments, if an appeal is granted, etc. Then our third item of news that I thought was quite interesting was that President Obama and Vice President Biden appeared together in Kokomo, Indiana, to promote the auto bailout. Now, they appeared at a Chrysler plant, and they discussed their support for the government assistance to GM and Chrysler, and the restructuring, and the attempts they sort of went forward with to keep jobs here in the country and expand car jobs for GM and Chrysler, and the successful restructuring of those companies that they brought about. Of course, the workers were very happy, very enthusiastic at this meeting, and it's interesting because GM has been hitting the airwaves with an advertisement thanking the American people for the money and the assistance they received. So a lot of people have asked, is this a campaign stop for Obama? Is he launching, Obama and Biden rarely appear together, except on campaign stops, so is this a campaign stop? Is this trying to keep Indiana in the blue column? Now, that's up for debate. But the real question that this has prompted is whether Indiana's in play in 2012, especially since Dan Coates, the former lobbyist and senator who ran for Senate this year and is now the senator-elect from Indiana, replacing retiring Senator Evan Bayh, beat his challenger Brad Ellsworth by about 20 points. So it's a big, big victory for the Republicans in Indiana, and it's more interesting because Barack Obama carried Indiana by about 30,000 votes. He carried it by about 0.8% of the vote, and prior to 2008, Indiana, in the presidential race, had been a state that the Democrats lost by about 20 points. I know Kerry lost by about 20 points. He got about 39% of the vote. George Bush got 59% of the vote. So it's a state that's very Republican. Is Indiana going back to its Republican roots? Now, whether Indiana's in play in 2012, a few White House aides have anonymously said that they don't think it's in play. Other people have said that perhaps it might be. I think, personally, that it depends. I think it's way too early, first of all, to see what states are in play, what states are battleground states, etc. I mean, I think we know what we're going to know what the solid states are. I think we can already project what the solid states are for each party. I mean, the states that always vote Republican, always vote Democrat. I mean, certainly Oklahoma, Kansas, Utah, Iowa, and Idaho, they're certainly going to vote Republican. I would be pretty surprised if Mississippi and Alabama didn't vote Republican. And I'd be very surprised if California, Washington, New York, Massachusetts, and Vermont didn't vote Democratic. So we certainly know what the solid states, but the battleground states, or any sort of middle ground, I think we're very unsure. I mean, certainly the unemployment rate in Indiana was very high at the height of the recession, and now it's dropping. Now, will that help Obama? We don't know. But again, something that a lot of political analysts like to say is you can't really divorce the national number, the national popular vote margin, from the state number. If you win a national election by 10 points, you're going to carry a lot of states. If you win an election by 2 points, you're going to carry fewer states. George Bush won in 2000 by first of all, he didn't win the popular vote, and he barely carried the country. So he carried the country by 3 electoral votes in 2000. But when Obama he won by about 6.5 points in 2008, he carried a lot of states. He carried 28 states plus D.C. Now, I think if Obama wins this election by 10 points, I think Indiana will be in play, and I think Indiana will be carried by Obama if Obama carries the election by 10 points. If Obama carries the election by 5 points, Indiana becomes a big question mark. If he carries the election by 1 point, I think Indiana's out of play. But again, you have to see what the national numbers end up being. Now, of course, whether Indiana's in play also depends on the Republican candidate. If Governor Mitch Daniels of Indiana runs for president, I think Indiana is more likely to go Republican. If Sarah Palin runs for president and a national number becomes very negative for Sarah Palin, then I think Indiana might be more competitive. Now, again, this depends. So I don't think we really can answer. I don't think we can answer that question. But we'll keep talking about battleground states in the weeks and months to come, so don't worry. The final piece of news I really want to touch on quickly is North Korea. Now, we all know that North Korea fired artillery into South Korea this week and killed a few civilians and Marines. And the U.S. and South Korea are going to hold joint military exercises to try to deter the North. And today, the North rattled on as usual, perhaps in even more bellicose language, and basically said they're getting ready to annihilate the South and attack, and the Korean Peninsula is on the brink of war, etc. So what is next? What are the options? More sanctions? They don't seem to have worked. Or a military confrontation with North Korea, which could be disastrous. I mean, are we really going to want to attack North Korea, a country that we know is armed with nuclear weapons? Are we going to have to nuke North Korea? I mean, certainly that's something that I think everyone wants to avoid. So keep this in mind, okay, and look out for the news on North and South Korea, on the Korean Peninsula. Keep an eye on that news, because this is going to be something very, very important over the next few days and months and weeks. I mean, I don't think people understand the degree to which we're close to the brink All right. Thank you again for watching The Young Voter.